Thanks, Jupiter. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all keeping safe and doing well. Thank you for joining us for this rather offbeat session that we have put together for you, where I'll be chatting up with someone who's nothing short of a prodigy. We have with us today Nidhi Mayurika, who is all of 17 years, but her achievements till date will just blow our minds. Nidhi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Nidhi Mayurika. I'm a 12th grader. I study at Oak Ridge International School. I'm from Bangalore, and I am part of a beautiful family of four. I have a pet too. Her name is Yumi. And yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thanks for accepting our invite and joining us today, Nidhi. So, for the audience, one of the most remarkable achievements of Nidhi till date is winning the NASA Space Colony contest. She's done this not once, not twice, but three times. And the first time she won this contest, she was all of about 11 years old. Nidhi, this really is, spellbinding almost to me. Can you talk a little bit about this achievement, what this contest was, how did you even get to know about it? Who actually even pushed you into applying for this, and how was the entire process?
Yeah, sure. So, how I got to know about this contest was totally credit to my principal. He asked me to, take part in this contest, and because I was way too young to take in the project, I had to first learn a little more about, astronomy in general, and then find out a little more about space settlement, and finally, when I was ready to take up the project. My first project was named Psychotham, and that was a very simple, a basic space colony. What are the different components that it needs, and basically the NASA's AIM Space Settlement Contest was the entire contest was to design a space colony and make it more realistic. And that's what I was doing in the first project. I just wanted to explore a little, and I won it. And the next year, I decided to take part in it again. But this one, I wanted it to be a little more than just a space colony. So the second one was named Soham, wherein it was something more related to space economics, wherein the space colony would be able to launch satellites. And this was basically to reduce the launch cost of launching satellites. And the third one was named Swastikam. And in Swastikam, what we tried to understand was the evolution of humans. And through Swastikam, we were able to make a colony that would create its own life through various aspects of synthetic biology and all of those new concepts, actually. And yeah, it was more of an exploration throughout the entire NASA projects, and it was a journey. So yeah.
No, very interesting, very interesting. And are you aware of what where are these projects right now? Is NASA developing them? Is there something that's happening on top of this?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if NASA would have, made all of these projects a reality. But I am aware that NASA is trying to, especially with the second project, Soham, because it was based on space economics. It was a very realistic project, so that's why NASA and all other space agencies are trying to develop a more, budget-friendly and economic. Launching facility. So if you think about, ISRO itself, ISRO is known for, how low cost and effective all of their missions are in general. So I think, I feel that, even though all of these projects, it's not, becoming into a reality, but the concepts that I have used in these, I definitely think that, that's what is, being the upcoming, more driven kind of a objective for all of the space colony agencies.
Very inspiring, Nidhi. Nidhi, the other large, project that you worked on, or in fact you're working on, is basically creating a satellite, designing a satellite, and now almost entering into manufacturing phase. And you're leading a 10-member team, which you're calling Delta Cosmos. right? Can you talk to our audience about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, Delta Cosmos is a team that I'm leading. It's a 10-member team, and we came together through an internship that we did during the summer. It was run by this amazing organization, SSCRD, and it was through the internship called as JSS. And in JSS, we were divided into teams, and we would be given an objective. And based on that objective, we would work on it, we would research for about a month, and we would basically have a final presentation, make a research paper, and that was the main idea of JSS. But I was part of the satellite team, and we really liked the objective. And our objective was to, create a design a satellite that would be able to take pictures of Earth in certain locations in general, and we would be able to send those pictures through an app and make it more accessible to the public, because you find very less pictures of, let's say, Bangalore or something when you want to search for satellite images. And yeah, so that was the main idea. And so of course we got into satellite team, and we had really less knowledge about satellites, which was very interesting for us. And we did a lot of research about each of the components that we needed. And then as we were doing the research, we identified all of the different things that come along with it. So we had a list of components, but then we had to list down as to which of these components we would use based on the dimension and the budget. So the dimension was again a very interesting thing, because once we had the list of all of the components that we would have, we started making a 2D design of a satellite. And then we realized that a 2U satellite, so basically 1U is nothing but a 10 by 10 cube. But then we thought that 2U would be enough, and then we realized that we needed a 3U. And then our budget concerns came into the scene. And then finally we were able to finalize into a 3U satellite with a proper 3D design. And yeah, that was with respect to the satellite component of the objective. But then when it came to the app component of it, it was much more easier for us, because we had this teammate of ours. Her name was Farida, and she was from Egypt, and she was amazing with technology. She was very young. She's a ninth grader now, and she did an amazing job with designing the UI and actually making the app and everything. So yeah, right now we are in our manufacturing stage. We are also trying to procure all of our components. So that's where we are at with the satellite.
That's brilliant. You've used almost all the operations concepts in this building of a satellite, from supply chain to procurement to planning, design, all of that. It's really remarkable that at such a young age, you and your team have been able to achieve this feat. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, Nidhi. Want to know again about a little bit about yourself. I mean, amongst this so much, hectic schedule, I'm assuming that you have studies and projects, etc. What's your daily routine like, right? And what do you typically do on a casual day? How do you what do you like to eat, etc. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a 12th grader now, so the daily routine is definitely a little more hectic and more school related. So I wake up around 6:30, and now that physical school has started, it's usually a rush to get to school by 9 or at most at 9. So my school ends at about 2:30. I return home, I take some rest, and start preparing for my exams and all of that. So I feel that my daily routine is a little more simple, but some things that I really like to add in is like spending a lot of time with my family, and my dog especially. She's a wonderful dog. She's really a life to our house. And yeah, I like to spend a lot of time really trying to make sure that I don't go insane with all of the amount of stress that 12th standard comes along with. So yeah, it's definitely a very simple routine.
Do you like sports? Do you play some sports? Do you find some time for sports or fitness? Anything else?
Well, sports. Sports. I don't play sports at all. I'm so bad at it that it's like I definitely don't want to dabble much into sports. But some things that I really like to do is reading books and stuff like that that are a little more like casual related. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Nidhi, we were chatting up a little some time back, and you also spoke about a sustainability solution that you're coming up with, for the larger societal good, right? And sustainability, by the way, is a very close to heart kind of subject of any operations leader, right? And given where we're evolving as an ecosystem and as a country, sustainability is going to become front and center, if it's not already there, right? So, talk to us about the sustainability solution that you're creating.
Yeah, sure. So during my internship at SSCID, I was able to understand a lot more about fundraisers because that was how we were planning to fund our project. And as I was doing that, I started realizing how much more important it is. About there's so many problems that are there around. And one thing that I was able to see is that many of these fundraisers are also the idea related fundraisers are also related to sustainability. And looking around me and all, we see a lot of textile waste. Every time we wear a dress, it's very unlikely that we reach back to it the same time. And there are so many new things about capsule closets and stuff like that. But the thing is that not many people even implement all of these things. And textile waste is becoming so huge also because of the amount of influence of fast fashion that is coming up. And especially with the lockdowns and everything, everyone were more interested into improving their fashion skills and getting into self care and skincare and all of these things. And I feel that because of fast fashion and all of that, the amount of textile waste that is being created has increased and it has boosted a lot. And because of that, I came up with an idea, and me and my friend, we have come up with this app that's called as Tessel. And what we do is we repurpose textile waste. So right now, because it's still under its developing stages, we started having trials. Wherein what we would do is we would collect textile waste from tailors, and we would repurpose them, make them into dog beds, and we would give it to shelters that are in need of dog beds and stuff like that. And every time we give it to these shelters, we work on the feedback that they give it, and next time we are giving back to them or to new shelters, we are making it more better versions of it, so that once we are coming up with our final product, we know how this is going to go on. So we have like different components and stuff with it. So we have the tailors who are one of our stakeholders, and then we have the people who are repurposing it. So we have a bunch of women who are trying to tailor these, and then our dog shelters who are one of our other stakeholders. So I mean, this is our trial, but the actual Tessel as an app is a little more complex, I would say.
That's so noble and so nice for you to start working on something like this. And you did mention that this is not, say, out as a product out in the open, but this is under testing stages.
Yep.
Right. So, Nidhi, I mean, so much achievement that you've done at such a young age. Automatically, a question comes to mind: how do you de-stress? I know you like reading a lot. So, have you read something that's interesting that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I like to read a lot of, I would say thrillers and all of that, but self-help books are something that I definitely enjoy reading. The other thing that I have recently started reading is like, epics and, mythological stories. I find them to be really interesting. After I read this book, Forest of Enchantments, I think that was Sita's version of Ramayana, and I really liked that book. So yeah, I like reading a lot. I think that is one of my favorite pastime, and that's the only way that I de-stress a lot.
Awesome. And any inspiration from that for us, and the audience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you think about it, because we are on the topic of strategy and management and all of that, I think I would like to share something that I have recently understood, and I've started reading a little more into Mahabharata. So I see that strategic management, it mainly refers to formulation, implementation, evaluation, and controlling strategies to maintain a competitive advantage. And I feel that the concept of operations and strategy, it's something that we have that we could see in Mahabharata, especially because it uh, creates a distinction between dharma, adharma, right and wrong, morality and immorality, the good and bad, through Kauravas who represented the evil and Pandavas who symbolized the good. And to beat this evil practice of adharma, the supporters of dharma ought to have some strategies that was done from Pandavas, of course, by the side of Lord Krishna, to establish dharma on earth. Now, if you think about it, strategy is based on a proper vision, an objective, audit, choices, and other economic concepts of let's say short-term and long-term effects, resource allocation, and stuff like that. And you can see that in Mahabharata too, because let's say the vision. Like the vision was very clear to everyone in the epic. It can be said that the vision of dharma was very clear to the Pandavas, and they all had only one goal. And contrary to that, the objective of all the great generals of Kauravas, including like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, they were all different, and they were fighting an individual fight. But Bhagavad Gita was directed to develop the visionary perspective in the work everybody does. So it tells us about how to develop a sense of larger vision for the common good. Now, auditing is definitely something interesting to connect with. So maybe we can tell it that there's an internal and an external audit. The internal audit is or the analysis is to identify the strengths and weaknesses around you. And the external analysis is what are the opportunities and the threats that surround you. So, Krishna himself says that, do an audit of your enemy, because he says, try to understand what is the strengths and weaknesses, and you should know your enemy well. And you see, that is something that you can see in all of the other stories also, like Ramayana especially. You can see that Lakshmana, he drew his Lakshman Rekha around Sita to make sure that she is safe. And then even in Mahabharata and other stories, you can see that Arjuna set out on a mission to acquire the Divyastras. So I feel that yeah, you can make all of these connections. This is definitely something that is more like how human evolution took place, and Mahabharata in general is like a story that represents a true human. So yeah, that's my little understanding.
That's such an interesting analogy, actually. A lot of us would have perhaps not thought of that in this way. Well, it's a great way to actually end the discussion. Thank you so much, Nidhi, and it was lovely chatting with you. And I'm sure that you are an inspiration for all of us, as well as your people around you. So thank you so much, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. And we wish you all the best, and good luck for your exams as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Bye.
Bye.